and welcome to a special summer edition of the Rundown with Caleb and Casey. I'm your host for the summer, Casey Schiessler. I am joined by a very special guest for the kickstart of my summer series. Caleb, out of the country, unfortunately. He will be back in July, do not worry, but we've got some great guests. No one other to start it off with than my great grandpa Dan. To start it off,
Thank you, Case.
get it going. I mean, the people have heard so much about you, but it's your first time on the podcast. So this was a very special one to me to make, to start it off with. And a guy that knows a lot about baseball, holds some records to this day in baseball. Probably school me on a thing or two today. We'll be breaking down the regional scene. KU making their first regionals, winning their first Big 12 title, and a lot of other stuff going on around college baseball. Grandpa, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Case, and I'm really excited. I'm happy I could sit in for Caleb, and I hope I filled the shoes well. I'm very excited about the College World Series. I'm very excited the Kansas Jayhawks are in. We are Jayhawks to the bone around here, so we were very, very excited. They win the conference championship. But there's so many good teams. There's 63 other very deserving teams around this, and I'm excited to get started.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic, and let's hop right into it with that. So, College World Series, for people who don't know, it's a very similar bracket to March Madness, except it's broken up to pods of 4. So still 64 teams, no play-ins, but pods of 4, double elimination. One winner advances out of each pod to the Super Regionals. The 16 host teams for the regionals: UCLA, Georgia Tech, Georgia, Auburn, North Carolina, Texas, Alabama, Florida, Southern Miss, Florida State, Oregon, Texas A&M, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, Mississippi State, Rock Chalk, Kansas, and West Virginia, in that order, 1 through 16.
It's a great field, Case. The big shocker, there's no LSU Tigers here this year. They were 30 and 28. So I'm sure the folks in Baton Rouge are, disappointed to say the least. It's a very tough conference. They will get better, and they are an absolute gas to have here in Omaha.
Yeah. City of Omaha will miss them, but there are a ton of other great fan bases competing for the 8 spots in the men's CWS, hosted in Omaha since, I want to say, 1950. I think the first 3 were held outside of Omaha, and then after that is all been Omaha. So it's something very special to us to get to be around growing up, being around that for so long. There's a lot of teams vying for that spot. Another team that just misses out is Mercer, who I thought was an underrated team. Now, they didn't win their conference. They still competed really well. I thought they would find a way in. They slipped out. Their AD and president was a guy who used to sit on the board, and he said it's a lot of politics. We went from being a team that was not even on the fence, that should be in no matter what, to, oh, you just missed out, things changed. And we know this with March Madness. These conversations that happen between conference tournaments and the selection show, there's a lot that goes on between, conferences and people who this does impact their stuff. So it was interesting to see him come out and say it publicly.
The smaller schools are fighting for their lives in some instances, much like, the March Madness. A little bit different. Some of the smaller schools do well here in the College World Series brackets. And we'll talk about that, I think, in a little bit. Omaha in the 50s. Yep. I think I've been going since I was 10 years old.
I've been going since, 4 probably.
Case, we took Case early. But, I mean, we go back to the Fullerton States, the Wichita States, those kind of, and USC, of course, with 10 national championships, I believe, in 14 years. And Rod Dedeaux, who was the head coach at USC at the time, the battles with Arizona State. Then you got into the small ball with South Carolina, who came up here when we moved to the new stadium out of Rosenblatt. And the coaches at South Carolina adapted their game to a small ball because the ballpark was so big. Then we went to Gorilla Ball. We went to the opposite side of things with the LSUs and those folks. And after some of the monumental 20-run games, a lot of it was LSU and some of the folks. The NCAA came in with the ball and kind of found the right the right mixture, if you will, to soften the ball a little bit. So it's in a good place right now. and it's a great tournament, and we're ready to go.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's going to be a lot of different teams. You've got some high-powered offenses, and you've got some teams that, some small schools with one or two stars that they're really hoping can carry them the full way. And you've got some of the big schools that go 4 or 5 deep in their rotation. You're going to need it when you play back-to-backs. And when you get down, if you lose that first game, unlike March Madness, it's not crazy to see a 4 seed in a pool beat a 1 seed. We rarely see 4 seeds go all the way through to a super regional. I think the last one was 2023 Evansville. Yes. And before that, it was before COVID, 2018, I want to say. So it's been a while since a 4 seed has got in. It's not typical, it's still sports. We still see the big dogs take the lead, but a lot of these 1 seeds are going to be struggling. But one seed that has the toughest time, and of course we're going to start with them, is the Kansas Jayhawks.
Kansas Jayhawks.
Statistically, the toughest regional will be held in Lawrence. Now, it'll be a blast. First time Lawrence hosts a regional ever. Dan Fitzgerald has got the program heading in the right direction in a very different style, which we'll touch on in a little bit. But they've got to go against some very tough teams. The Jayhawks have Arkansas as the 2 seed, Missouri State, and Northeastern. And Northeastern is a team that plays the Boston Red Sox yearly. So they get some high-level games early on in their season. But not only that, they went out and won their conference handedly and controlled it all the way through the season.
Yeah, in Kansas, it's got a really good balance this year between good starting pitching, and they've hit the ball very well. They have a couple of young kids who can take the ball out anywhere in the country. And so they have earned their spots. Coach Dan Fitzgerald for the Jayhawks, who we'll talk about a little bit, has been the Big 12 Conference Coach of the Year the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So Kansas is clearly on a projection to be there every year, to be at least considered a contender. And I think that will continue.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's a Big 12 conference that is definitely going to be tough. West Virginia hosts as well. Cincinnati is a 2 seed. Arizona State's a 3 seed. There's a lot of Big 12 teams that are kind of in it. Texas Tech, obviously not mentioned. It's a team that we wouldn't be surprised to see them in a year. They've always had talent, and they will talk about it on the softball side. They're very good at what they do. They pay a lot of players to come in and play ball for them.
They have a lot of money.
Yes, you cannot deny that. For Kansas, Tyson LeBlanc is probably going to be the big name, a 1.1 OPS. I mean, anytime you hit near 360, there's some elite players that do that. And he's a guy that, is all conference and can do things in the field as well. I mean, he's very solid with his glove. He's not a gold glove guy, like Bryce Betcher of Oregon, who gets drafted to play football and also gets drafted by the Houston Astros last year to play outfield for him. So just a guy that can do it all. And then on the pitching side, the one for me, Mason Cook is probably going to be the ace starter. He's who I would go to in Game 1 to get that win against Northeastern, who's a good program with good pitching. But Bodie Bahe, I believe is how you pronounce it, is the reliever, the closer for the Jayhawks, all-conference first team that has been lights out. He's had a couple mishaps here and there, but man, they're small. And when he comes in on his good days...
In Arkansas has got a very good history of power pitching closers. Yes. They have one this year, in Ethan McElvain, who just throws pure heat. And he will be a big key, not only in this bracket, if Arkansas would get through the bracket, he's going to be a force all the way to Omaha if they get there. Dave Van Horn, head coach, Arkansas, has no qualms going to him in the 8th inning. Dave Van Horn has always had good closers who throw gas.
Yeah, Van Horn does a fantastic job of not only recruiting, but developing elite-level closers. I mean, we saw when they went against Oregon State, he went to his closer as early as the 7th inning of the CWS Finals, which was a fantastic game. And this means a lot to Dave Van Horn. Dave Van Horn really wants to go out and win one. He's talked about it time and time again. He thought he had it last year. He's so close to it. He knows that even though it's a very difficult route to get there, it would mean so much to win it.
Yep, he crushed the hearts of Nebraska Cornhusker fan a few years ago when he was the coach in Lincoln, and he decided to go home to Arkansas. But he understands as well as anybody Probably the only person that understands, the environment in Omaha any better than Dave Van Horn. I'll take you back to Augie Garrido.
Oh, the legend.
Augie Garrido. Cal State Fullerton was my team, and I believe he won 3 national championships at Cal State Fullerton.
3 with them, 2 with Texas.
And then he went on to Texas. He is a fixture in Omaha, and he understands the Omaha environment as well as anybody. And Dave Van Horn is right there with him.
Yeah, without a doubt. The interesting thing about Omaha is how centrally located it is. It's not a home game for any one team. Even except for, when Nebraska makes it, when a Creighton makes it, when a Wichita State makes it. Teams will travel from it does not matter where to show out. And it doesn't matter if it's Wright State, I want to say, came here. Stony Brook had a decent turnout when they were a 4 seed and made a deep run. And then your perennials, your Tennessees, your UCLAs, Cal State Fullerton back when they used to come here. It is always going to be a neutral site game for teams because it's not located in Vegas where the East Coast is at a disadvantage or in Miami where the West Coast teams are at a disadvantage. Baseball is a coastal game and they play it in the Midwest.
And the thing that you will hear if you listen to these coaches, the head coaches specifically, throughout the whole year, and it's not this year, it's every year, is everything is geared to Omaha. They talk so much about Omaha. And what it takes to get to Omaha. What do we have to do to get to Omaha? It is ingrained in the College World Series, all 64 teams every year, and it's a wonderful event. But it has a life of its own.
Yes, it is a very different and unique sport. And there was a big point we want to hit on that, starting with Dan Fitzgerald of Kansas. It's a very different looking roster for KU compared to if you were to look at it 4 or 5 years ago. If you were to look at a majority of college rosters, the development through JUCO and recruiting almost entirely out of JUCO to build his roster is very interesting. It's not something we see in a football, in a basketball. Yes, you may get 1 or 2 guys that go to Power 5 schools that start out at JUCO and transfer to a small school and then up, or started at a big school, transferred to JUCO, and then over to a small school to finish out your career. Baseball is so different in that you can build a roster through JUCO and win your first conference tournament just right after that because of how the game is based. You have been around baseball so much, and you've been around the JUCO side, the D1 side. What makes this game so different from a basketball or a football?
I think the whole structure about the success of these teams with so many JUCO schools and in the players in JUCO and some of the smaller college, to me, is it's built into the structure of baseball from the major leagues down through the minor leagues and even down into the summer leagues. And there are some tremendous summer leagues. But you get kids at the JUCO level, in my opinion, they're there. And the support system, the coaches, and the whole environment is about player development. Mm-hmm. It's not about how much I get paid. You have a lot of kids who maybe weren't recruited when they were in high school, but they go to JUCOs and they flourish. And I think a couple reasons. I think just the basic concept of minor leagues and how JUCOs can be a really quick avenue for some of these young kids into pro baseball rather than going to big D1 schools where they have to sit for 2 or 3 years. You will go to JUCO or you will go to a small school and you don't have 40 people on the roster. You have 25. And I think part of that is if you're going to JUCO, you're going to play.
Yeah.
And you're going to get better, and you're going to get better quickly. And they have this tie-in to some of the summer leagues. You take a look at the Cape Cod League, who is one of the best ones, Alaska.
Yeah.
I will tell you, Case, and I know this, one of the best areas in JUCO in summer is in Kansas. There is a Jayhawk League down in Kansas that has kids from Wichita State. It has kids from Texas. It has kids from all over. Clarinda, Iowa. When I played a long time ago, Clarinda, Iowa was number 1 in the nation in the summer ball, and their shortstop for Clarinda, Ozzie Smith.
Oh.
I played against Ozzie Smith. If you take a look at that structure, the kids that aren't regarded very highly can immediately go into JUCO. And here's the other thing: JUCOs don't obviously have the academic focus, maybe, that the bigger schools have. These kids can literally be playing baseball all year round.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing that I believe it makes the JUCOs and the small schools stronger. Those schools have solid coaching. They come from younger kids, ex-players that are looking to get up. They have pro players now. The JUCOs have coaching staffs that were ex-pro players that give back to the community they're in. The other thing is, a lot of them are scouts, and so that whole structure underneath the major league and the minor league umbrella, these JUCOs and these smaller schools can excel very quickly, and those kids get a lot of playing time, and they're just looking for the next step. And it's about player development. It truly is in my mind. I think the academic situation is different, but just the ties underneath the pro baseball make JUCOs and some of the smaller schools great places to play, and that's why these teams get good. There's a very large amount of kids who go that route, and they're very good at it. And if you get the right combination, get a couple of very good starters, they can do some really good things.
Yeah, without a doubt. The other thing that kind of came to my mind is, you don't feel tied down to a player or a system, where a coach at the D1 level, their goal is to win the national championship. Yes, JUCOs still want to win the JUCO national championship. It is a big thing. Their true national championship is when they develop players and they send them off to the pro leagues, because they've only got 1 year typically to do it. So you have to make a huge impact on that kid to push them to that next level. Like a Bryce Harper, a kid that came in and everyone was like, oh, he's fantastic, he's super talented. He goes the JUCO route because he can get to the pros in 1 year, compared to if he goes to a D1, Cal State Fullerton, a UCLA, he's got to be there for 2-3 years, like a Garrett Cole was. They're both very successful players. They took their own paths to get to the big leagues. But, you look at it differently, because Garrett Cole has to sit as a freshman behind 2 to 3 other starters that have been at UCLA for a while. At the JUCO level, like you said, there's only 20 guys on the roster. You're not getting recruited there to go sit a year or two, right? You're bought in.
You're going to play, and their goal is to develop you as a player as fast as they can.
Without a doubt. And so Coach Fitzgerald for Kansas took that and said, all right, if they're going to develop them, why can't I convince these kids? Because at the lower levels right now for baseball, the pay is not fantastic, right? That's kind of been known. And even at the collegiate level, NIL being so new and baseball not being a revenue-generating sport, the pay is still not as fantastic. But it's a lot different to come in and say, all right, I can offer you a couple $100,000 to come play from JUCO to a D1 level, and you're still going to get another year development, but you're going to make money. Teams are going to look at you a ton because you're on this big D1 circuit. You've got a chance to go play professional baseball. You've got a chance to come to Omaha and play in front of the entire nation. They can make their money, continue to get developed, compared to, all right, I go 1 year in JUCO, maybe things didn't work out, maybe things did, right? I could either go pro, risk going really low, and then my development starts on a low pay, whereas, we've heard guys saying on podcasts before, I've got to work multiple jobs when I'm in high A ball, when I'm in low A ball, to support myself, just because the minor league pay is not as high as when you get to the majors. And it's a long road there. We're not seeing, a ton of guys rushed up in that 1 year development like a Paul Skeens. We're seeing 4 or 5 years to get to the major league level. Why not make your money ahead of time and kind of back yourself financially and say, all right, I can go to the D1 level, still go play pro ball at a super high level, still get drafted high, but now I've got the financial stability where I don't got to work multiple jobs. I can just focus on baseball.
Absolutely. I think with Dan Fitzgerald, and he's just a wonderful story down there at the University of Kansas, he was a recruiter for Dallas Baptist. I played against Dallas Baptist many years ago when they first started their program. And Dallas Baptist was loaded with JUCO transfers. I mean, Oklahoma, Texas was the area they hit the hardest, all JUCO transfers. And that's back in my NAIA days. And now here we are many years later. Dallas Baptist has been in this tournament.
Yes.
And a couple of years ago, they almost made it to Omaha. And so Dan Fitzgerald came from Dallas Baptist, and his recruiting was you hit the JUCOs as hard as you can. What did that get him next? He went to LSU. He was the recruiting coordinator at LSU. And you take a look at those LSU rosters over the last 5 or 6 years, it's Dan Fitzgerald who is closing the deal on bringing those guys in. It's pretty amazing. The other thing that helps Kansas is they have in Johnson County Community College one of the top JUCOs in the country.
They do.
And I know that Dan Fitzgerald is constantly pulling kids out of Johnson Community, and this Jayhawk leaving in the summer. He's done a phenomenal job. He's got a great eye for these young kids who are hungry. Yeah. And he's got a bunch of hungry Jayhawks.
Without a doubt. The other one that comes to my mind is Kirkwood Community College,
yes.
which is another local one that he can pull from, and he has multiple guys from that team, but he's also done a good job of now adapting that to going and recruiting freshmen. You know, last year there was, I can't remember looking at the roster. I don't even remember looking at it and seeing like more than 2 freshmen. I saw this year we got 5 or 6. They're not playing a ton because they're freshmen adapting to the style. But if I have this right, I think the Kansas starting lineup is 8 junior college transfers and then 1 D2 transfer. Yes.
I mean, that tells you right there. It can be an instant success story. You get the right couple of pitchers, and the kids coming out of JUCOs, they're hungry.
Yeah.
They're very hungry, and they come from programs that aren't, they don't have a lot of resources, but they have great coaching, and they're hungry kids.
Yeah, you get them in the proper weight room, you get them on a proper diet, and you take what the coaches have already built and you add your coaching to it. It can really be a recipe for success. Now it could be a recipe for failure as well. You
Absolutely.
never know with these things. But the other unique part about college baseball is the little guys get a chance to fight back. And I know this is something, you were a big Cal State Fullerton guy, you were a big Long Beach State Dirtbags guy.
Dirtbags.
These are not teams that, the typical average college sports fan hears about often, sometimes even ever. Cal State Fullerton, not a D1 football program.
Nope.
I don't think they're D1 basketball either.
I don't believe they are. Some of those schools have made a decision that baseball is going to be their ticket, and they're going to put the resources into it, and they do a great job of it.
Yeah, and then you get, teams like a Coastal Carolina. You don't get that kind of story in basketball, it feels like. We think about national championship teams. You think of Villanova as a private school with a good amount of money and a really good basketball area. You've got Kentucky, a perennial blue blood. Our Kansas Jayhawks, of course, perennial blue bloods. These teams, you might get a couple runs out of a Wichita State for 1 or 2 years. Wichita State is a college baseball national champion, and they're back in the scene pretty frequently. It's not crazy to see these small schools in it, and baseball it's a bunch of individuals playing a team sport.
Wichita State built their program the same way.
Yeah.
I will date myself. I played against Wichita State my junior and senior year. Wichita State had canceled baseball back in the in mid to late 70s. They restarted it, and my junior and senior year, we actually played Wichita State coming back from our annual trip to Texas to start our year. We played Wichita State the first year. Who was the Wichita State coach? Gene Stevenson.
Oh, wow.
And the monumental battles that Gene Stevenson had with Creighton University, it's just crazy. But he started from the ground up. We swept them my junior year. His first year under Wichita State. The next year they 10-runned us twice.
Oh.
And it was just off from there. So the success stories are everywhere. And it's just so much fun to see this all happen.
You didn't even hit a home run, so you don't get 10-0'd?
We got 10 run. We scored 4 or 5, but they had some hitters that you make a mistake and it's not in the parking lot, it's over the building. They were tremendous.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the last part I wanted to hit on before we dive into, obviously we're going to pick the brackets. We're going to pick our regional winners. You guys know how we do it around here. Is I call it the beauty of baseball and how the little guy can fight back. You get your Pepperdines, right? You get your Wichita States, your Dallas Baptist, Evansville making it to a super regional. There's a couple small schools. I mean, Mercer put up a good fight. I want to say they went to supers last year. A Southern Miss hosting.
Which is really big this year.
Which is huge to have one in Hattiesburg, and that fan base will be fantastic. But you don't just see these perennial, Big Four teams getting in. Like, the Big West is going to have a couple schools. These Florida teams are going to have some of the smaller schools. Coastal Carolina, the story of Coastal Carolina, I was a big Arizona guy growing up. Huge Bobby Dahlbeck fan.
Yep.
I cried when Coastal Carolina beat Arizona in the national championship because I wanted Arizona so bad. And now looking back, the story of Coastal Carolina getting there as that small school is, why I think I fell in love with baseball from such a young age. And, something that I think you've instilled in me since I was little, and watching these Cal State Fullertons, these Long Beach teams, all these little guys that can be successful in baseball. And I just want to dive into your headspace on, why is baseball so much different than a basketball or a football? Whereas, we're not going to get Miami of Ohio versus Indiana for a national championship in football.
And again, I think it's the passion of these smaller schools. The kids that go to those smaller schools, they kind of have something to prove. Yeah. They got passed over. They get good coaching. They get a few resources. Here in Omaha, Coastal Carolina is a very loved team.
Yes.
When they won their championship that year. It's a commitment that some of the schools have put forth for these small schools. Baseball wants to be their thing. They can't compete in football. They know that. They don't have the money to compete in basketball. Baseball, they can compete. And they go out and they get good coaches and they get hungry kids.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, too, is baseball is truly the only individual team sport to me where you can go out there and win with just a top guy that's going to go beat you. You get to basketball, that can only get you so far. You get to football, and it doesn't matter if you got a 5-star QB if you've got a 2-star O-line. We've seen that with Nebraska having a 2-star QB and a 2-star O-line. But it's very interesting how basketball, you can have a Rock Chalowski for UCLA. Now, he's not the only guy out there. They've got about 6 dogs out there that are going to lead them all the way to Omaha.
They have what, in some of the material I've seen, UCLA could have 10 draft choices, 10 draftees in the first 5 rounds.
Yes, and they could have 4 of them in the top 10, 15 picks as well.
Chalowski clearly will be number 1.
Yes.
He would have been number 1 last year.
And he gets the honors of going to Colorado for all that hard work. At least he's a hitter, not a pitcher.
There you go.
But it's truly the only individual team sport where defense has still got to be on a team level, and you have to have the best team together. But when you actually get down to it, baseball's just a bunch of one-on-ones.
It is. Who can win the pitching battle? Who can win the hitting battle?
Yeah.
Who makes the great play on the ball deep in the hole at short?
Yes.
It's that kind of stuff that brings these teams to the top.
Yeah. And if you've got, like you said, a shortstop that's hungry and he really wants it and he's been passed over and he knows there's only one chance for him to go pro, and it's to get his name out there. He's got to hit 350. He's got to slug 17 bombs, and really set himself apart. Well, now you get 6 of those and 2 pitchers. You become a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely.
Because they can't get your top 5 out, and all of a sudden that's 3 runs. And in baseball, if you got 2 good pitchers to go to, a 3-0 ball game's all you need.
And you just need a closer.
Yes.
And then it's lights out.
You don't even need a great closer. At that point, you just got a good closer.
Closer who throws strikes and it's lights out, baby.
Yeah. But I knew I'd want to pick your brain on that because ever since I was young, we've been cheering for what seemed like the small school underdogs and now has come to be known as the big schools in baseball. And unfortunately, Fullerton's kind of bouncing back a little bit, but they'll find their way.
They have a great tradition.
Omaha. They do. And a fantastic jersey, too.
Yes, they do.
Can't go wrong with navy on orange.
They had the greatest. Cal State Fullerton had the greatest house in Omaha. It was right across the street from Rosenblatt Stadium. And every year they won the national championship, and we walked over there, and there was the biggest party in the state of Nebraska going on in the house of the alumni from Cal State Fullerton. And you know who was in that house? Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner was leading the party in the Cal State Fullerton alumni house.
That's
And
awesome.
Augie Garrido was right there with him.
I wouldn't be surprised one bit. We are going to pick our regional prediction winners. We're just going to go down, start in the left side, all the way down through it. I'm going to let you go first since you were the visitor. The first regional, UCLA is hosting Virginia Tech, Cal Poly, and St. Mary's in that order, 1 through 4. Who do you have coming out on top?
This is not difficult. When you have 10 players who are going to go very early in the draft, I don't see anybody challenging UCLA. I know one of their top pitchers is arm weary, we will see how that works out for them. But I don't see anybody challenging UCLA here in the regionals.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with you and go UCLA as well. It was interesting how they won the Big Ten, though. Oregon was a team that, yes, a lot of people think they're very good, but at the same time, it's not a team that people thought would put up as much of a fight against UCLA. And to go into extras and win it off a walk-off hit by pitch, and not just go out there and kind of take what's yours was interesting and maybe showed some kinks in the armor of this thought to be unbeatable team. No team's unbeatable in baseball. It takes one bad day for anyone to get eliminated. But at the same time, it's really hard to have a bad day when your 1 through 3 can all hit above 330.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. The next regional is the 16 seed West Virginia. They've got Wake Forest, Kentucky, and Binghamton. Binghamton, 1 through 4 in that order. Who do you got, Grandpa?
It's hard to get excited about this bracket. I will take Wake Forest. Wake Forest has been here before. West Virginia is a decent team. I don't think they're that deep. I don't think they have a lot of experience necessarily here. I'm taking Wake Forest.
That's not a bad pick at all. I struggled to pick this West Virginia team myself because it felt like a team that could 10-0 you on any given day, and on another day you could beat them 8-2. It's a team that I've seen struggle throughout the Big 12 slate. I'm actually bumping it back to Kentucky, the 3 seed winning this. I feel like this is a typical, power conference team that gets seeded low in an anyone's fight conference and gets out there on top and finds a way to claw their way. And they've got some really talented guys out there. They just struggled to put it together consistently. Head next to Hattiesburg, the one we mentioned earlier. Southern Miss at the 1, Virginia at the 2. Jacksonville State and Little Rock in what will surely be a wonderful regional.
This region is a really, really good region. I'm dropping all the way down to the number 3 seed.
Ooh.
Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State won the Conference USA title. That's how they got in here. They go 3 deep in their starters. 3 quality starters. They're out of Alabama. Think of all the teams out of Alabama in this tournament. They played Alabama. They played Auburn. They split with Auburn earlier in the year.
Yeah.
They lost to Alabama by 1 in a single game set. I just like Jacksonville. This is a feel-good story here. I'm going to take Jacksonville State.
I wouldn't hate that whatsoever if Jacksonville State gets through. This one's going to be tough. For me, this one is one I circled early when looking through the bracket, just as I'm going to be tuned into whatever game is playing at any given time in this because you're going to see great pitchers. Southern Miss, Virginia, and Jacksonville State all have top-tier pitchers. Little Rock, they don't have the depth. They are one of the smaller schools in this, but they've got a great batting lineup. Southern Miss has got some energy. They're a fun team. I'm going to go Southern Miss to make it through, and it's another, team I want to make it in and push their way as one of these little schools being a big dog, getting to Omaha. Love the story of Southern Miss. I can't wait to see it. Bounce down to the next one. Florida at the 1 seed, Miami of Florida at the 2 seed. Man, talk about a rivalry.
And there's another bar fight waiting to happen in Omaha.
And I'll tell you what, there's another region that we'll get to later that's going to be a bar fight every single game. But to round this one out, it's Troy at the 3, Ryder of New Jersey at the 4. Who do you got?
I'm going to take the Gators. They have the SEC Pitcher of the Year in Aiden King. I think the only thing possibly holding back Florida is the Kevin O'Sullivan factor. Kevin O'Sullivan is the head coach of Florida. He has had a bumpy ride He's a very emotional. He got in big trouble 2 years ago or last year
2 years.
with how he approached some of the NCAA officials in the early region. They got knocked out early. He's won a national championship. I mean, their pedigree's down there. But for some reason, Florida, they will get through this. I would love to see Jacksonville State.
Oh, wow.
Kevin O'Sullivan's seen the high and he's seen the low. And you just never know who you're going to get with Florida.
Yeah, I agree.
I will go with them in the first round.
Yeah, I've got Florida getting out as well, and I agree with you. O'Sullivan does a great job of buying his team in with emotion. Sometimes that emotion gets too much, and you see it in him. You see it in some of the assistants. You see it in some of the pitchers getting in their own heads. You see it when he moved Caglione off the day one starter in game one and pushed their normal day one starter to day two just for them to lose 2 games. Like, there's definitely some things that happen where O'Sullivan sometimes, I think he gets going too much. Like, it's okay to hit the brake pedal as a coach. You don't got to be like Patino 24/7, yelling and screaming and out there. You know, a guy that comes to mind for me, at least in the basketball sense, is Kyle Wright.
Absolutely.
You know, he's a guy that he knows when to put the gas on, take the gas off. Augie Garrido, I don't think he ever had a brake pedal on his car. I think he was just gas, gas, gas. And, you know, he did win 5 national championships. So I got to give him his flowers there. And then we'll bounce down to the next bar fight conference or regional. North Carolina, Tennessee, East Carolina, VCU. Man, whoever gets out of this is not getting out unscathed.
There are going to be some bloodbaths here. I think this is the toughest region out here. I am going to go with North Carolina only because North Carolina knows how to get to Omaha. I think Tennessee is peaking right now. I think East Carolina is a good team. Virginia, VCU is a good team. This is going to be a very, very tough and very, very interesting weekend. I do have North Carolina going through.
I have North Carolina going through as well. Their pitchers are just so good. They are fantastic. I think they're top 5 in pitcher ERA in the nation. Tennessee, like you said, is on the right path. They lose their coach to San Francisco in a whole fiasco, and it takes them a little bit to get going because that was very late in the cycle. They lose some guys to the portal, they keep some guys. I think they made a fantastic hiring out there. I think it's going to work out. It's not going to be a one-season Band-Aid and we're into Omaha.
Absolutely.
It's going to be, you know, the train's got to take a little bit to get warmed up. The plane's got to get the engines going before it can move on the runway. And I think they've done a fantastic job of that. I think them versus East Carolina is going to be a great game.
I think it will be a wonderful
East Carolina
game.
Is always a team that threatens. And I think back to the COVID year when East Carolina was a team that people thought not only could host a regional, but could make it to Omaha. And they were a true threat. They've been a true threat ever since then, almost like another coastal Carolina type of team. And they're just waiting for it, man. They're just waiting to break through, and I think it's going to be a fantastic job. Head down to the next one. Texas A&M, USC, Texas State, and Lamar.
I'm taking Texas A&M. I believe that they have, some of the best bats in the tournament. Obviously, Southern California has a great tradition. I've got to go with the hitting strength at Texas A&M.
Yeah, I'm going to take USC at the same time. Without a doubt, Texas A&M could get through, and they're going to be fantastic. But I'm going to go with USC to push through.
Okay.
I really like this team, and it's a team that I thought was going to make more waves in the Big Ten tournament. So we will see what happens with that.
They have good pitching.
Without a doubt. They're going to have good pitching. We're going to dive into the Lincoln Regional next in the home state of Nebraska. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be Nebraska push through. I can guarantee you that much. I mean, you guys have heard me talk about Nebraska, and if you ever wonder where I get my takes on Nebraska, I learned them from an early age from this guy right here.
I don't think I own a red shirt, and I get a lot of heat for that, but you know what? It's when you have the Jayhawk blue in your blood.
Yep.
Red things just don't exist.
No.
Let's talk about this case. I'm not, and this is no surprise to you.
Shocker.
I will not take Nebraska.
Really?
I don't think their pitching is consistent enough.
No.
I think, in my pick here is Ole Miss. You know, they, what, 2 or 3 years ago, national champions.
Yep.
Great coaching. This is a team that goes 3 deep in their starters. And in these short series, you could get 3 starters, and Ole Miss could cruise through this. Arizona State, they played some good baseball this year, and they've got Ole Miss in the first round. Ole Miss has got too much pitching for me. I don't think Nebraska is going to be consistent enough. I think it's going to be an absolute nut house. I think the tickets in Lincoln sold out in less than 10 minutes. It's going to be a wonderful environment, but I'm taking Ole Miss.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm going to take Ole Miss as well. I mean, I think it was known we weren't going to pick Nebraska for whatever it's worth. Now, if Chase Rue was on here as well, then someone would finally pick him.
He would be pulling the cord out from the computer and shutting us off.
Probably. Ole Miss at the 2, Arizona State at the 3, South Dakota State at the 4. I think South Dakota State could give Nebraska a run for their money right early in game 1. And that's not anything against Nebraska. I think the South Dakota State team is that good. They have a good chance to push through.
And they're hot right now.
Yes.
They had a rough start, but they're hot right now. South Dakota State, I know, played a very difficult schedule early in the season, and they took their lumps. But they are now getting some gain out of that.
Yeah, without a doubt. And this Arizona State team's solid, don't get me wrong. I'm going to take Ole Miss. Like you said, it's a team that knows how to get here, and pitching is kind of what wins it. Auburn is hosted 38-19. UCF at the 2, NC State at the 3, and Milwaukee at the 4. Grandpa
with a losing record. But you're a conference champion.
That's all you got to do.
There you go.
You could lose every game in the regular season
in Milwaukee. You probably don't play till the middle of April at home.
Yeah, they've probably been on a plane a lot.
Yeah.
So this is nothing new to them.
I'm going to go with Auburn here. I think Auburn is one of the more balanced teams in this tournament. I think they have good pitching. They have very good defense. North Carolina State has been here before. Mm-hmm. They lost a heartbreaker in the national championship game, COVID year.
They didn't really lose it.
They didn't really lose it. They didn't even get to play it.
Vandy won by technicality, I guess.
Yes, it was. It was during the COVID years, and they had a handful of players that tested positive literally the day before the finals, and the NCAA disqualified them.
Yeah. And, gotta love Corbin there, but there's going to be an asterisk next to that one. And I was a huge Vandy fan growing up, but that's just not how you want to see it done.
No.
I am going with NC State. I think this team has a real chance. They hung in there with North Carolina all year. That's a rivalry. They wanted a ton. Those are the kind of games I look at when I look at who's going to make it out of the regional. How do you do against your rivals? How do you do against the number 1 team in your conference? Are you just trying to go out there and minimize the loss, or are you trying to go out there and put your name in history? Because obviously everyone goes out to win. But how do you execute when it comes to actually winning games or putting yourself in a position to win? I'm going to take NC State to go all the way through. We are halfway through the bracket. We're going to head to the top right in what could be one of the best offensive teams.
Absolutely.
That I can remember. Georgia Tech hosts Oklahoma at the 2, the Citadel, the 3 seed, and UIC at the 4 seed.
It's Georgia Tech. They have talent. Georgia Tech has a catcher and a center fielder that are legitimate top 10 picks, maybe top 5 picks. The young kid behind the plate is very, very good. He handles the pitching staff extremely well. The center fielder for Georgia Tech, I've seen some tape, can flat out fly.
Yeah.
And he's a great hitter. It will be fun to see. Oklahoma has some tradition here. They've had their moments up here in Omaha, but I don't see anybody touching Georgia Tech here.
No. Von Lackey is the catcher. Not only that, when you hear him talk about the game, I listened to some of the ACC Network interviews with him when I was diving into this. He thinks and talks like a pro-level player already. The way he talks about, how the game went, how the team maximized or where the mistakes were, and then how he prepares himself for everything and how he knows the ins and outs of these pitchers, his whole staff. We've always talked about, good catcher gets the most out of their pitchers. And he's a guy that does it and hits 350.
Absolutely.
And he's not the fastest guy, but you're a catcher. You don't need to be the fastest guy out there.
You do
right?
have to be the smartest guy in the field.
You do. And he exhibits that. And just in the way that they get the pro guys on the ACC network, they get the analysts on there, and how he articulates himself into speaking, and how you can put yourself in his shoes as he's talking and go, wow, that's a fantastic thing to say. He's a guy I would spend an early pick on, and an even earlier bet pushing them through to the next round.
Absolutely.
Then we get to the best regional, of course. KU is hosting. We hit on it. Arkansas, Missouri State, Northeastern. It's anyone's ball game, but is it really?
This is the most difficult thing you're ever going to hear me say. I don't think Kansas can get through this region. The environment down in Lawrence is going to be absolutely fantastic. It's going to be Allen Fieldhouse, and the field at Kansas is steps from Allen Fieldhouse.
Yep.
It's across the parking lot. It's going to be crazy. The Jayhawk Nation is going to be absolutely going wild. You would think Danny Manning just won the national championship in the first game when they play. I just don't see him beating Arkansas. I think Arkansas's pedigree, I think their closer is a massive bonus for Arkansas. McKelvin, Kansas had a wonderful year. They haven't made the College World Series since 1993. I think they're a year away. Mm-hmm. I think Dan Fitzgerald has done a great job. I think he will continue to do that. I think you will continue to see Kansas here. They're going to break through. This is a very tough draw for them.
Yeah. I am going to push Kansas through, but I completely agree with you. It was really that Arkansas game that it's kind of throwing me off a little bit. Can they? Because you're probably going to have to beat them twice, right?
Yes.
It's not easy to get past Northeastern. And then you've got to beat Arkansas. And then Arkansas's going to beat the rest. And then you've got to beat Arkansas again. Or if you lose an early game, you've got to win 2 straight to get there. It's going to be Arkansas twice. It is going to be tough. You almost need Missouri State to jump out on Arkansas.
Yeah, you really do. And crazy things happen like that. Mm-hmm. Missouri State, a few years back, they were right there every year.
Yes.
And so they know it well. It pains me to not rock chalk Jayhawk, but Arkansas, I think, has got a little too much for them.
Yeah, that's without a doubt. I took KU. I mean, I fans of this know I'm going to pick KU no matter what. Even if I believe Arkansas is a better team. Arkansas has a better chance of going through. Jayhawks are going to get it done. They find a way.
I hope you're right.
They find a way. We head down to the next one. Tallahassee, Florida State, Coastal Carolina, NIU, and St. John's. No Rick Pitino will be there.
Thank goodness. I will watch this then. I'm going to go to the number 2 seed, Coastal Carolina. Florida State has been a fixture here in Omaha. I like the Coastal Carolina story. I think the coaching staff down there gets every ounce out of the Coastal Carolina kids. I think this team is a classic Coastal Carolina team, and I do see them beating Florida State.
Yeah, I believe it, and I'm going to pick it as well. I do think this Coastal team is fantastic, but not only that, they're led by 2 great pitchers.
Yes, they are.
That's the big thing. Coastal doesn't just get one guy. They get 2 great pitchers and a lot of dogs out there to buy in for them.
I think this Cameron Fluke,
yeah,
from Coastal Carolina, that he's for real.
He is.
I mean, he is a top 10 pick, and he is going to deal people fits in this region.
I would 100% agree, and I think this Florida State team's good. Florida State also goes 2 deep on pitchers, and they go 2 deep at the exact same level as Coastal. I think this is going to be the best pitching matchup in all of the regional, but I just don't see NIU or St. John's kind of getting through. I think this is one of the easier 3 or 4 seeds that they could have drawn.
Yes.
But man, you're going to get 2 1-2 games from Coastal Carolina and Florida State, and it's going to feel like its own super regional.
This will be an interesting one to watch.
Without a doubt. Heading down to now the second regional in Alabama. Alabama hosting. Okie State gets in. USC upstate. And Alabama State also pushing in as the 4 seed. Who do you got?
I've got the Gorillas from Oklahoma State. They have tremendous power. This is going to be a hitters versus pitchers region.
Yeah.
I think Oklahoma State has got great power. Alabama is the one seed. A lot of people are taking Alabama. Alabama's got good pitching, obviously. I like Oklahoma State here.
Yeah, without a doubt. I am going to take Alabama. I think this team's good. I think this Alabama team is the best Alabama team I have seen put together from them in a long time. I think this team is not only a regional and super regional contender, I think they're an Omaha finals contender.
There's a lot of people that think Alabama will make it to Omaha.
I really like, and they're just deep. You can't look at them and say,
I don't know if I could go down there with Roll Tide running around.
Yeah, here's the thing. I won't disagree with you there. But man, this Alabama team's something special. They're fantastic through the board. And it's one of the teams where I look at them and you just can't find a weakness to exploit. And in baseball, it's a big thing. We talked about one-on-ones. You got to find your weakness, whether it's, hey, we're going to get through the 7, 8, 9 easy. Their 9 spot could hit like 310 in the tournament.
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't be surprised. Like it's that deep of a team. They've got good arms, not great arms. They've got good arms. Then we're going to head into this one might be my favorite regional. I'm going to be honest. I mentioned that a little bit earlier, but I think this is going to be the one I watch no matter what. And it's not because my favorite team's in it. Actually, one of my least favorites in Texas is the host. UC Santa Barbara, Tarleton State, and Holy Cross rounded out. But this may undoubtedly be the best sicko game because it might be a lot of 1-0 games in this regional.
To me, Case, this is a strategy call in this region for game one. You have Jackson Flora from UC Santa Barbara, who leads the nation in ERA 1.05 as a starter.
He's so good.
Texas counters with Dylan Volantis 2.0. It will be interesting to see if UC Santa Barbara holds Flora off for game 2. That is a dangerous, dangerous thing in this tournament. But if they do, and then you get Texas in game 2, you are going to see this be a 1-0 game. And I don't know who's going to win it, but those two young pitchers are tremendous. And Jackson Flora, I've seen some tape on him. He's going to go very, very high.
Yes.
So it will be a strategy call in game 1, and if they both make it through, this weekend, I'm glued to that game.
Yeah, we are not getting up watching that. I'm going to take UCSB. And while we're on that, let's hit on that topic right now.
By the way, I am going to take Texas to go through.
That's devastating. While we're on the topic of what to do with Florida, let's hit on that in general of as a head coach, you're putting yourself into the shoes of whether it's a UCSB, whether you're a Northeastern, whether you're, UCLA, you're the top team, the strategy of do I stick with my rotation and we go 1, 2, 3, or do I mix it up and we go 2, 1, 3? Do we go 3, 1, 2? Do we go 3, 2, 1 and try and save our best pitcher to just send us home without a doubt? Obviously it's a team by team base, but what is kind of the thought when you put yourself in a coach's shoes? All right, this is what I would do, consistently, or this is what I would lean personally.
70% of the time I go with my number 1, and I don't care who we're playing.
Yeah.
You can't get yourself in a hole in a 4-team region series. It's so difficult to come out of it. And you have to take a look, obviously, at the other teams in your region. Just generally speaking, I'm going 70% with my 1, period.
Yeah.
And it's got to be an odd thing here. And this is the decision that the two coaches from Texas and in Santa Barbara are going to have to make that decision. That in itself is going to be a key to this region.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's something where, in a week's time, we'll look back and say, we'll circle it and say, well, this is the reason why. Yep. Obviously, just picking who's going to pitch is not going to be the reason why one wins or one loses, but that'll be the first thing people point to is, oh, they shouldn't have switched their pitchers, or, oh, they should have switched their pitchers, because it's such a flip-floppable situation to kind of put yourself through. Absolutely. When you've got two elite arms of that caliber, I like sticking with my one as well to start, because that also gives you the best chance of bringing them back.
Get a little rain, and guess what? Your number one goes twice.
Yeah, and it's not crazy. Crazier things happen in the sport of baseball. I mean, we saw Oregon State be basically dead to rights against Arkansas and still walk it off. It is a crazy thing. It's a crazy sport, and it's outdoors, so you never know what's going to happen. 3 regions left.
Okay. This is an interesting region to me. Oregon is the number 1 seed. I will take Oregon to go through, but Let me tell you the hurdles they face. They're playing Yale. Everybody goes, Yale. Well, Yale happens to have a pitcher by the name of Oman, who is an All-American. In game 1, they're throwing him against Oregon.
Yeah.
Now, Oregon State, you would think, would be right there. There's some real question about Dax Whiting in his health to be able to throw in this series for Oregon State. Oregon shut out Nebraska, crushed them, 8-0.
Killed them.
Just buried them. I'm going to take Oregon, but they better not be sleeping in game 1, or they're going to have to come off the bottom of the pile. The young man from Yale is a very good pitcher.
And he's got some great bats behind him.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to lie to you, I was sitting there this morning and I had Yale highlighted to go through on this one, trying to talk myself out of it, because surely a 4 doesn't get
Oman in 3 days of rain.
Oh my goodness. That'll be crazy. Imagine you get Oman game 1, you win, and then you get him in your elimination game in the CWS too.
That's what it's all about.
I don't think anyone would be bigger Yale fans than us just watching a 1-0 ball game. This Oregon team, though, took UCLA to its limits. They took them to extras, and there were spots where I thought, oh man, Oregon might just go out there and win it right now. UCLA survives, like they do. But Oregon is the only team I feel that's really tested up. And why are there so many rivalries that we're scheduling? Oregon State,
Absolutely.
Oregon State, Washington State, all in the same region.
It's the beauty of the tournament.
It is. And it is not going to be easy. There's a little bit of grudge matches going on within these. And
without a doubt.
Maybe it'll make great TV. We know that.
And you see grudge matches here in the first round, which you do not see in March Madness.
You do not. You can't see them.
No.
They find a way to push it away. Oregon getting through for both of us, the last 2. Mississippi State, Cincy, Louisiana Lafayette, and Lipscomb.
Mississippi State, also known as Will Clark University.
Yep.
The best player I think I've seen in Omaha in all my years. Goes with Dave Winfield and Roger Clemens, but Will Clark is still a big part of Mississippi State. They go 3 deep in their starting pitchers. They likely have 9 draftees. Mississippi State is a strong, strong team here, and I'm going to ride them.
Yeah. I'm going to pick Mississippi State as well. I really like this draw for them. I was not too impressed by Cincy. Lipscomb, it's another team that made it in by winning their conference. And Louisiana Lafayette, has some teeth. They might fight back. But this Mississippi State pitching staff is going to be really solid. It's a guy where if your starter buckles and struggles, which they don't do very often for them, their bullpen has been fantastic for them throughout the season. So they don't have that worry of, I really hope, where a Santa Barbara is sitting there like, man, we really need Florida to go 8-9 innings of 1-run baseball. They can go, all right, we gave up 4 runs. Our bats are going to put up 5, so we just need to stop them for 3 innings. And I think this Mississippi State team's going to do a great job of it. We'll see.
Mississippi State's going to go deeper than I think people believe.
I think Mississippi State might, if they didn't have to play the winner of the next regional, whoever that will be, I think they'd be a lock for Omaha. If they were going up against the winner of the Alabama regional, for me, if they were going up against the winner of the Texas A&M regional, of the Nebraska regional, I would pencil them in all the way to Omaha. It will be interesting, though, as we head to the next regional.
The problem they get is they're going to get Georgia.
They're going to get Georgia.
And Georgia is loaded. Georgia gets a break here. I don't think this region is very strong outside of Georgia. I think Georgia sweeps this, and they're moving on.
Yeah, I've got Georgia, and man, Georgia's bats, Mississippi State pitching. It is strength on strength.
Yep.
Who will come out on top? We've both got that. So I've got 3 Big Ten, 3 ACC, 6 SEC, 1 Big 12 in the Jayhawk, 1 Big West, and 2 Sun Belt teams moving on.
I'll give you a little different twist. I have 10 1 seeds.
Wow.
I have 5 2 seeds, and I have 1 3 seed.
I have 10 1 seeds, and I believe only.
I think you have a couple more 3 seeds than I do.
I think I have 3 2s and 3 3s.
There you go.
Yep, I split them evenly down the middle. But man, it'll be fun. We will definitely be glued to the couch in the worst way possible.
It used to be that we were glued in the 30th row, right behind home plate at Schwab Field, underneath the overhang.
Oh.
And what was behind us? It's where they made the
Popcorn.
no, it wasn't the popcorn.
Or it was not the kebabs, was it?
It was the kebabs. It was the kebabs. And we would come home and our clothes reeked.
Yeah.
The smoke literally rolled over the top rail and engulfed us.
Yeah. And the programs right behind too. So I mean, man, I've probably got 10 or 15 programs sitting up in my house right now, just filled out with box scores and memories of great games that only more to come. That's for sure.
There you go.
We're going to derail from baseball slightly. And it's the only non-baseball topic. It's still a round ball sport like we do here. We're going to talk softball, Grandpa.
Okay.
And a very interesting thing that happened in softball. We have Texas Tech versus Florida softball super regionals, best 3. Got to make it in.
In the sorority fight?
And yeah, what undoubtedly was a sorority bar fight, going at it against each other. Florida head coach gets tossed in game 3. It's 1-1, winner take all. And then Jason Williamson's daughter, the notable Florida alum, who is a good guard there. You know, say what you want about him as a character. He was a really good guard, and he did a lot for the university. His daughter originally started at Florida, transfers to Texas Tech, money, all that.
All the way money.
Yes, without a doubt. So it's a winner take all. She gets hit 5 times in the series.
And Texas Tech obviously advanced. Mm-hmm. They played this morning. She got hit in her first at bat
again
today.
And that pitcher was cowering in fear immediately.
Yes. Obviously a difficult situation. I think there's a lot more to what happened than we'll ever know. To listen to the Florida coach after it happened, after he got ejected for arguing balls and strikes, which I think he just didn't want to go through the post game situation. And he says, "Well, nothing was intentional. It just pitches slipped, da 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 da. I don't know why everybody's making such a big deal out of it. I don't believe that for 5 seconds. I think it was a very difficult environment. I think it's 2 heated rivalries, and I believe it wasn't a good look for either team. I think Texas Tech may have handled it a little better. I also believe that Texas Tech actually obviously did their side of it, and I'm sure that they were there was a lot of chirping coming out of the Red Raider dugout, and there's nothing worse than a Red Raider chirping.
Yeah.
That whole program is fraught with money, and there's just a lot of things that go on with it, but the Florida situation could have been handled a lot differently, and it's a shame that they go after a player 5 times. I don't care who it is.
Yeah. Now we've got this angle to end it off with, but I would agree. And the other thing is, it's not like they hit 7 people total.
Yes.
5 of them were hurt.
Yes.
So it's not like slip in. It was a completely sunny 90-degree day. It's
Absolutely.
not like you weren't going through rain, you weren't going through mud or anything like that. You accidentally hit the same girl 5 of the 7 times in the series. Last year's playing for you and hit a home run off you. Nothing whatsoever went wrong. But I agree. It's just not a good look. And then the worst look for me is not shaking hands after.
Yes.
I get that, yes, two teams do not like each other. They've just been agitated, yelling at each other. And it's been a rough situation. You got to be able to take the loss with your head up, though, and move on and be the bigger team.
And think of the tradition. I'll give you a tradition that is wonderful. And these guys literally beat the tar out of each other, but yet take the time to respect the other team, and that's a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
When teams are knocked out of the Stanley Cup, the tradition is the handshake. And it is one of the best things you've ever seen in sports. I just wish these two teams could have realized that.
Yeah, without a doubt. And Stanley Cup, it's been fantastic this year.
Oh.
NHL playoffs, and it's something I talked about last summer, is one of the best true spectacles to watch.
Absolutely.
I think it's better than NBA. I think it's better than MLB playoffs. NHL playoffs has always been fantastic, and once again, it was this year. And it's still going. Now, the best part of the show. We get to hit on the three. We get to hit on the 3 for 3.
There we go.
And I'm super excited for this. So, Grandpa, will you start it off with your not 3 for 3?
So this is my bad choice, right?
Yes.
My bad choice comes out of the SEC. Greg Sankey and the comments that have come out of him in the last 48 hours about we're just going to pick up our toys and we're going to go play somewhere else. And he wants to break the SEC off if he has his way. If we can't get the rules right, we're just going to go play amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
Be careful what you ask for. SEC is quite full of themselves. I see where Sankey in this interview said he brushed off the fact that the Big Ten has just hammered him in football the last 3 or 4 years. That's just a little side road. The arrogance of the SEC can get really nauseating, and I think the comments that they just want to break off, if they don't get what they want and they're going to break off and go on their own, is a very wrong thing. The trend of college sports right now is not in the direction I would like to see it go, and Sankey is one of the individuals who is driving a lot of this issue going on. I thought it was very poorly done.
Yeah, without a doubt. And no one's happier that you said that than Caleb Polking right now. Stepping into his shoes, you filled it calling out Greg Sankey and saying how bad he is. He will be thrilled to hear about that. Mine has been the reffing for OKC, and it's something I've hit on before. I think the NBA could be in such a great state if they just focused on ending flopping. Ed Shea wins MVP. That's fine. He was very talented. I have nothing against that. I don't think he should have won personally. He's good. You can't deny that he's very good. It's how he does it and how he goes about it. And you get the jokes that, he's always at the free throw line, and people bring up, he shoots less free throws than Harden and stuff like that. It's how he earns them. It's how you can see that sometimes there's no contact or there's not enough contact to cause it. When you think back to a Michael Jordan, a Kobe Bryant, they're not getting that kind of contact and falling down. They're going through the contact and trying to still get the foul and score the and one. They're not shying away from it.
You talk about the Michael Jordans and the really top end players at that time in the Dream Team and so forth, how good they were. But it has now gone from the NBA, and you've heard me say this, to the NDA. No defense allowed.
Yeah.
Guys step away from people, and it's like this is not the same game. Yeah. It's like you've got to play defense there, and they're more interested in 140 to 138 and selling a lot of beer and hot dogs. Yeah,
without a doubt. Your number 3 good thing, Grandpa.
My number 3 good thing. We'll stay with the NBA.
Oh, wow.
The Lakers being swept by OKC. This 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I could not like that any better. I don't like the Lakers. I never have. Don't talk to me about LeBron James. Don't talk to me about putting LeBron James on, some 4-person, mantle. No, absolutely not. I was so tickled to death that the Lakers got swept. I saw a note today that the Lakers actually fired 12 more employees.
Oh, geez.
In their wonderful restructure. So, good news. You get swept and you go fire a bunch of people. Great organization.
Yeah. If I was going to put a 4-person up there, I feel like Dirk, Kobe Bryant, MJ would be up there. If I had to look at it, and maybe like
Bill Russell, Larry Bird.
Could be. I was thinking more like a Mario Chalmers.
Yeah,
Sharon Collins,
absolutely, Danny Manning.
Danny Manning, without a doubt, Wilt Chamberlain.
There you go.
All fantastic. That's a good one to have. I will not lie. It's a good number 3 to have. Unfortunately, it does come at the expense of OKC winning and moving on.
Absolutely.
That's the only issue.
Understand that.
My number 3, my Carolina Hurricanes, 1 game away, making the Stanley Cup
Absolutely.
Finals.
And they thumped Montreal at home last night. Shut them out 4-0.
They did. Well, the game before, they were up about 40 shots and only had 1 goal of separation to give for it. So it was
They're
not
thumping
pretty.
my Habs Canadiens.
I feel like I need to break out the jersey, my youth medium jersey, and see if it still fits. Just for the next
It probably
podcast.
does.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't even think I wear adult medium anymore. You're number 2.
My number 2 actually is the Nebraska women's softball. This is more than Jordy Fromm.
Yeah.
This whole team, these girls play for each other. And it's not the one girl who's, everybody's out there and she's best player in the country. This whole team plays very well together. They're very well coached. It's a great environment down there. It's interesting. In Lincoln, the 2 best sports, volleyball, softball.
Yeah.
So the women are doing well in Lincoln. I think it's a good story. I think the softball program is good. In fact, they're going to be on here in about another hour in their first round matchup against Arkansas. Pig Suey.
Yeah.
I like that program. It's fun to watch.
Yeah. Good on you for saying Jordy Fromm, by the way. I still, in my head, say Jordy Ball a lot. And I know people that work with the organization that still say Jordy Ball occasionally.
Yes.
So, you're on it. We need to get you on a headset and mic, call him play-by-play immediately. Yes, that was, I'll tell you what, when Nebraska came to UNO for the game, it was a fantastic game that I think UNO should have handled differently, but that's its own story. But the amount of people that turned up and just the atmosphere that was there, and it was a very different crowd from the Nebraska football and that stuff like that. They were just there to grow the game. They love the team. You always get that with Nebraska.
Yep.
They love the team. They love the program. But it's a little bit different with their women's sports. And it honestly, to take the SEC of it, it means a little bit more sometimes, I think, to the women's programs of Nebraska. The fans care about it more. It's not just, I was born in Nebraska, I'm a Nebraska football fan. It's, I was born in Nebraska, we're going to support, the women's volleyball team, the women's bowling team, that's fantastic, the softball team, men's and women's basketball. I think they've both been fantastic, and the fans really pull through.
You walk around the state here, and every young girl has a volleyball jersey or a softball jersey on from Lincoln. That tells you how good a program that is.
Yeah, and it's girls in Omaha, it's girls in Lincoln, it's way out west, and I think the coaches have done a fantastic job in both programs.
Absolutely.
My number 2, Arizona Diamondbacks, grand slam in 6 pitches into the game against the Giants.
Only you could come up with that.
2-pitch single to start it off, 1-pitch single, 1-pitch single, 2-pitch grand slam for Arenado. Was watching that live.
Ex-Cardinal.
Yes, ex-Cardinal, Puerto Rican.
Yes.
He was watching that live while moving into the apartment, and I saw it was 4-0 in the top of the first, about 10 pitches in. I was really confused, so I had to rewind the game, and it was crazy to see.
Awesome.
Your number 1, Grandpa.
My number 1, we're going to go to Indianapolis, Indiana.
Ooh.
Sunday afternoon, the Indianapolis 500. And the Swede, Felix Rosenqvist, wins by 2/100ths of a second.
It was such a good ending.
It's amazing that they go 500 miles at 220 miles an hour average lap, and down the straights they get over 240. And he waits. He's coming out of turn 4, and the finish line is right there, and he just nudged ahead. 500 miles in 2/100ths of a second. It was just an unbelievable last lap, and that's my number 1.
That's a great one. And it was such a great story, too, with, unfortunately, the passing of Kyle Busch recently, who is so well respected, and, love him or hate him, he's one of the guys that you had to tip your cap to all the time as he was a guy that was going to race. He was going to race hard, but afterwards he was going to be respectful. He may run his mouth and joke a little bit, but he was going to, win with pride. He was going to lose with pride. And, Rosenquist, I thought was a great guy to go out there and win it and get it done, and all of the kind of honoring they did as well.
It amazes me that 500 miles at 200 plus miles an hour, and it's 0.2 of a second between first and second.
And if he waits 0.2 of a second longer to make that move, he doesn't
doesn't
tie
make
it. He loses by 0.4.
He was out of turn 4 when he made his move.
Yeah, it is crazy. It just, the reaction of those drivers and how you wait so long and it comes down to that last second, but it's fantastic. Mine goes a little bit different, and it's a sport that doesn't get mentioned much on here, UFC. Sean Strickland, the American.
Here we go.
You can't deny it. This was huge for the country. Defeats Khamzat Chimaev, takes his undefeated record, takes his belt, and what will go down as one of the greatest fights. He wins the middleweight championship.
Better than Ali Frazier?
Yeah. Here's the thing. This was, Rocky, where he fights the Russian?
Absolutely.
It was quite literally that. Nobody believed that he was going to do it. The entirety of B-Dubs erupts in cheers. There were people that were there and they had like a Russian hoodie on, and that they were there to watch Hamza and celebrate.
You need to find a different place to hang out.
Hey, it's B-Dubs, okay? They had to tip their caps and unfortunately walk out with their head down. You knew they were going to be the loud guys if Hamza won. But Strickland, and we'll get to this later on when we have a different guest on the podcast that will be a UFC podcast, which I don't think you'll tune into.
That will be one I may have a hard time getting through.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, you can't deny the story of Sean Strickland, and love him or hate him. If you watch Rocky, if you watch the lead up to the fight,
which was fiction.
Yeah. I thought it was fiction that Sean won for a second.
Oh, okay.
Hey, nobody gave Sean a chance. But yeah, that is my number one. I just wanted to say thank you. This has been a wonderful start.
I have had a great time, and it's a great start for the College World Series, and there's just a lot of fun headed in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Caleb, I hope I tried to hold your spot down for you.
We'll get back. We'll hear back from Caleb in not too long. Summer Series will be hosted by me. Just keep the podcast going. A ton of different guests on, a ton of different plans coming up. Grandpa Dan will be back. Don't you worry about that. We'll come back to how our picks did. It was a fantastic. Thank you for starting this off on such a high note.
Thank you, and I look forward to it.
Perfect. It has been Casey Schiessler, Grandpa Dan here for the rundown with Caleb and Casey. Hope you guys are having a great summer. A lot more to look forward to. Wishing you a wonderful day.